What do they have and what drives them to complete their books, their plays, and their songs? Welcome to the Editor's Desk, where we explore their writing experiences, their motivations, and their struggles. And now, here are your hosts, author, writing coach, and self-publishing guide, Lynn Everard, and author, Louise Gomez.
Hello.
It is Thursday at 5:30 p.m. in Southeast Florida. There may be weather, there may not be, I'm not telling.
Okay.
You're watching the Editor's Desk, and my name is Lynn Everard.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Editor's Desk. My name is Louise Gomez.
So Halloween is coming up.
Yes, it is.
It's only a few days away, and that means there will be children everywhere collecting
Yes, they will.
candy and all kinds of things. So what better topic, what better guest to have than someone who can tell us about the children's book that they wrote?
Absolutely. And it's so remarkable because, as you know, I've been talking about writing my children's book. So this is now going to inspire me, motivate me, and probably hold me accountable. Hold me accountable. And maybe I have some accountability buddies. But I'm super excited to introduce Coralie Hutchinson Gray. She wrote the book Me. And I'm going to read her bio so we can introduce her, because I know she does a lot of real exciting stuff besides writing books. And so Coralie lives in Lake Worth, Florida. She was born in Nova Scotia, Canada, and grew up in a small town in Maine with her mother, Cora, who is Canadian and part of the Micmac Indian tribe, and her father, Philip, who is from the U.S. and retired professor of diesel engineering. Coralie moved to Florida and graduated from FAU. She spent the past 14 years in professional medical sales. She's also a professional fitness competitor who has won 5 world championships. Her daughter Ashley is 21 years old and graduating from her mom's alma mater, FAU. Coralie is married to her loving husband, Joe, who has brought his little 10-year-old girl, Amelia, into her life. This is Coralie's second children's book, written from inspiration from her first book. She was inspired to write her first story, Circle Time with Dando, after a volunteer trip she took to Africa. So thank you so much for coming to the show, Coralie. I'm so happy to have you as our guest.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me. It's truly an honor to be here and to see both of you after 7 years or so.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Absolutely. So this is your second children's book.
Yes. This is my second children's book. The first children's book, I actually brought it. It's
Oh,
Circle
wonderful.
Time with Dando. It was inspired from a volunteer trip that my husband and I took to South Africa as part of our honeymoon. So
Oh,
we did
nice.
something a little different than most honeymooners. We wanted to do something special that would bond us, and I think it was probably the most incredible bonding experience you could have as a couple, a newlywed couple.
Wow, that's exciting. I never heard of someone doing like a complete, it's like you were in contribution to these young kids, right? In the
Yes.
school?
Yes, yeah, we were there to teach,
Nice.
spend time with them, play with them, learn the culture. It was just so incredible, and we met so many incredible people.
Nice.
And the children were so inspiring. So when we came back, I just looked at my husband and said, I have to write about this.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's exciting. So what is that first book about? The Circle Time with Dando is about the experience that you had in South Africa?
Yes, it is about the experience. It's actually based on a true story, of course. And Circle Time is something that they would do every morning. The children would get in a circle and they would sing and read stories. And the teacher, Tina, who was a volunteer who had spent quite some time there, she was, I think, 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
Very inspiring young woman from Denmark. And she would have this circle time with the kids. And it was the best part of the morning, and my husband and I would sit there and just look at each other and watch the kids and watch them dance and sing and speak in African and speak in English. And
nice.
so that's what the book is about, and it's really about the children. There was a child there that he was very, when we first got there, he was very closed off. Came in with a hood over his head, didn't speak to anybody. They were having a very hard time with him, and they asked, would you give him a little bit of attention?
Sure.
So we spent some time with him, and by the end of the trip, he was laughing and singing and dancing with the other children. So that's where the inspiration came from.
I'm not surprised. I mean, between her and Joe, I'm sure you had his heart crack open, right?
Yes.
Just from your presence and your wanting to give, because I know you're definitely a giver and wanting to give. So that must have been mutually beneficial, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, definitely.
I think their why is contribute. FYI, on the side note.
Could be. So how long was it from the time you came back from Africa to the time you wrote Circle Time with Dando?
It was immediate.
Oh,
It
nice.
was immediate. It was.
Wow.
I wrote the book as soon as we got back, and started to reach out to other people that had written, Michael DeSanti, who had written
Right.
a children's book, asked him who his editor was, and he sent me her name, and I reached out to her, and then the book was born. I sent her the book, my ideas, she loved it, and we went forward with it.
It's always fascinating to hear the story of how long it took someone to write a book, especially their first book.
Yeah.
Our guest last week took 17 years to write
Oh,
his
that's
first
right. That's right.
book. Okay,
Right.
and people are all in between.
Yep.
But it doesn't surprise me, like Louise said, it doesn't surprise me at all that you would have done it quickly, because I seem to remember something related to, what was it? It was like something, I can't even remember the phrase now. Remember the phrase about doing it now or something like
Oh.
that?
Do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
but,
yes.
So,
yes.
right? But if there's
Oh,
something
what the
about,
heck?
yeah.
Do
Yeah.
whatever it takes. I remember that phrase.
So then what was that book came out in what year?
2020.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. So that was like during the pandemic, right?
I
Or
wrote it before.
Oh, okay.
And and launched it during the pandemic. It
Oh,
was
okay.
about, I think June is when I launched the book. So it was, 6 months. It took about 6 to 8 months for the book to come to
Right.
life.
Nice.
So what's that process like? And I know you'll be interested in this question.
Yes, because I'm
what's the
interested
process
in that.
like of writing a children's book? Like we wrote a book together. I've written a book before. But as an adult, writing for adults, it has to be a completely different process. So what is that like, knowing you're writing a book for children?
It's a great question. I was inspired, first of all. So the inspiration and the story I already had it
Right.
from this experience. So because I had that inspiration and knew exactly what I wanted to write, I wrote it immediately. And it's like you said, I mean, ideas can come into the brain, and
Yes.
but when it's actually put down on paper and the inspiration is there and the motivation is there and the purpose is there, I think everything else will come. And then, just writing the story first, putting it down, put down the idea. I think if it has a purpose, especially for children, of what your message is for the book,
Yeah.
it makes it a lot easier. I did have to tone it down a little bit, so it does help to have an editor read it
Okay.
and see the content. What age group is it going to be
Sure.
for? What is your message? And then once you write it, you send it to the editor, and they give you the feedback, and you just take your time with it. But and then the illustration part.
I was going to ask you because I love it's so colorful.
Yes.
I was going to ask you who's your illustrator. It's beautifully well done.
So there is a great story behind the illustrations for me.
Okay.
So the way it works for when you're self-publishing, you're paying for everything. You're
Sure.
paying for the illustrations. You're
Right.
paying for the copyright, everything. So this publisher actually, they took my ideas and then they sent it to the illustrator, and then they sent back what her sketches were.
Okay.
And then I approved it or didn't approve it, wanted to make changes, and that's how the illustrations came about. And then this illustrator is Ukrainian, actually.
Oh, nice.
So she, during the process, actually had to flee the Ukraine.
Oh, my
So
gosh.
that is why it took a little bit longer for this book.
Wow.
I wrote it last year, the end of last year, and it just launched because there was a pause in between where she had to get to a safe place.
Wow.
But she really saw my vision. I was,
Yes.
as soon as they sent me the first proof, I was like, wow, she really gets what's in my head, and she just put it right down on paper. It was amazing.
So can you share, I was reading the back of it and I love the vision for the book and the message. Can you share with everybody a little bit more about what is the message for this book, Me?
Yeah. So the message is really, this is from a personal experience.
Okay.
Of
Those are the best kinds.
exactly another inspiration
Right.
of what it was like for me to grow up different than most of the kids around me. I'm from a small town. I come from a mixed background, and I look different than the kids. And there was a lot of confidence issues I had, and didn't feel like I fit in, and always had a lot of nicknames that nobody else had. And so as I was inspired by Dando, I was also inspired by actually some feedback that I got from somebody about this book. And it made me think about how people judge people on the way they look, the color of their skin, their hair. And I was like, I have to write about this because for children to feel confident in looking different, being unique, having different look than everybody else, and celebrating that instead of feeling bad about it. And it's very easy for a child, when you're little, you feel great, everything's, you have no self-esteem issues until people start pointing out that you're different, pointing out that you look different, and making that all of a sudden an issue that wasn't there before. And then it just starts piling on children. So I wanted my message is to celebrate it, to be confident and to say, I'm beautiful, me, and be okay with that. And it doesn't make you wrong or bad or,
Right.
Egotistical or anything
Right,
like
no.
that. Like, be proud that you look the way you do, and shout it out loud.
I'm so happy that where we are these days, because growing up, I didn't have those kind of books. When I was young, reading, what did we read? Different books that weren't. But now there's the evolution of consciousness where people are more wanting to raise awareness of being conscious of, kids' self-esteem and how they think about themselves and raising their level of, self-love. So thank you for sharing that message. I think it's so important that, kids get that message, and that teachers also get involved in that and they're on board with that message. It's so important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's great to read this together, as a family, or mom to daughter, or son, and be able to say me out loud. And that was actually my husband's idea,
Okay.
with the me and celebrating it, and saying it together. So
I love it.
anytime me is on the page, it should be me.
That's awesome.
And say it together.
That's great.
So one of the most memorable moments of the author's journey of writing a book, whether it's a children's book or any other kind of book, is the first time you see that book in print and it shows up in the mail and you open the package or the box and you see your book for the very
Yes.
first time. And that probably didn't happen for you all that long ago with this book. So could you share with our audience what that moment is like for you when you finally see all this work in physical form having all come together?
Yeah, it's seeing the work that you put into something and actually seeing it like tangible. You can hold it in your hands. You can see the photos, the pictures. I mean, it's just a feeling I can't describe. It's amazing. It's like having a vision and seeing it come to life and having characters in your mind and seeing them on a page. It's really changed me. That's why I've written another book, probably write more books, because actually seeing this come to life, it's undescribable. That you know that you can do it. It's like, oh, I had this idea and here it is. I can't believe it, so it's really amazing.
And what a great example, right? Because I know you have 2 kids. So what a great example to show the kids, like, this is what this is my dream come to life. And they watch, they know.
Of course.
So they get it. They see that you're, okay, mom's doing her thing and she's creating, and that stays in their minds. And I think that's part of the legacy we leave our children, that mom can do this or dad can accomplish this. And it just allows them, I think, to believe that they can do something like that too, whether it's a book or anything else they decide to do. Right?
100%. Yes, absolutely. I mean, they're watching everything that we do, and
Absolutely.
So yeah, it definitely feels great to be able to show the kids, hey, here's my book, and they're all both so happy and they love it, and so it's definitely a great feeling, and to be that role model for them, especially with the message that's in the book too, especially having girls.
Yes.
Because that's for 2 girls. There's I've seen it. My daughter's 22 now,
Right.
But I've definitely seen what happens as she got older and the insecurities that came. So and now we're seeing it too with our 11-year-old, and so it's very important to have the discussion and be
Yes.
open enough for them to share what's going on with them, and if they are feeling different or left out, and being able to talk about it.
Yeah. And you have so many accomplishments besides this. I know I was reading your bio. You won, I don't know, 5 championships? Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
So that in and of itself is another, example of being successful in something that you're passionate about.
Yes, yeah. Always been very passionate about fitness and health. Always wanted to do these shows and the bodybuilding. I was always really fascinated with it at a very young age. I was like a little different than most kids that watch sports, and I watched like the fitness competitions on TV. So I loved it. I was obsessed with it, and I always was like, I really want to do that one day. So after I went to my first bodybuilding show, I think it was 18.
Wow.
Or 19, a couple of friends of mine, and then I started to get into it, and then did my first show actually after my daughter was born.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and for me, it's not so much about showcasing, my body or anything like that. It's about when I've done these competitions, the people I've met,
Yeah.
and the stories I've heard, and how people, just like the book,
Right.
have take nothing into something and actually have it happen. It's incredible. People don't know how strong they are until actually they step up on that stage and there's the product and they finish the show, and it's a huge accomplishment. It's very inspiring.
Yes.
One of the things that we love doing about doing this show is that everyone has a story. But they not only have the story of the book that they come to talk about, but they also have a story other than that, right? And a whole life.
Sure.
And, you know, people say we have, what, 7.6 billion people on the planet? But the thing they miss is that we also have at least 7.6 billion stories on the planet. Right? And literally every person has a story that they could tell the world.
Sure.
And so we love having guests who publish books because we want to see other people step up and tell their story.
That's great.
And share that with the world. So we love having guests like you who are so diverse in terms of the things you do, and it's always the people that come in and they tell us about their book, but then there's this whole other thing or multiple things that they have about them that they're doing in their lives. And I don't know, one of the fascinating things is it seems like the busier people are,
Yes,
the more they get done.
That is so true. There's that
Right?
old expression, you need something done, ask a busy person, because they'll get it done, right? It's so true.
It's
So true.
amazing.
Yeah, we have had good guests. I mean, all our guests have been amazing,
Yeah.
and everybody has, like you said, a unique story and just multiple facets of, of what they do. And I think the common thread is that the book is something that it has been a passion for them, and they're like, okay, I gotta write this book, right?
Yeah.
That's the common thread.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's true. When someone's successful in one area, you know that they're going to be successful in another one. So
Yeah.
So
no
if-
limitation.
If you were
Exactly.
going to talk to aspiring authors who are watching our show, and they may be very busy, but they may have decided they're too busy to write their book or something, like, what's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself in writing these two books? Or what nugget could you share with people that might encourage them to write their book, and including my co-host here, who now has about, I don't know, maybe a few thousand accountability partners. So we'll have to see how that goes.
yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hear it all the time. People ask me, I really want to write a book. I really want to do a children. Since I've written these books, multiple people say that they want to write a children's book. I'm like, do it.
Right.
Just do it. Put your idea down on paper, write the book, and then start researching different avenues in getting it published. If that's what you really, really want, you're passionate about it, you're determined, you're committed, it will happen. Because I know you guys both know this, but an idea is just an idea. But when you actually start putting it down and making it happen, there's no stopping somebody when they're really passionate about what they do. So, and finding a purpose in that. So if people have that in their mind, they want to write a book, they want to publish a book, children's book, write a story, write it. Start by writing. That's the first thing you can do. And then once you've done that, start reaching out to people that have written books, have experience, get their feedback, find out who they used, and start moving forward on your project.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's a great piece of advice, because, and I remember the saying I was trying to remember earlier, and it was called, I think what we used to say is "life is now."
Oh, that's right. That's
right.
You're right.
Life
That's
is
what
now.
I knew the now part, but I couldn't remember the rest of it. So then it's like all of a sudden it popped in. It's like
Okay.
life is now.
Yes, it is. It's true. Life is now. If we want to do something, there's no guarantee for anybody for tomorrow. Do it. Start now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So true.
Totally agree. Yeah. Leave your legacy behind. Do those things that leave an impact. You never know what is going to happen from your idea and your book. The possibilities are endless. So do it. Share your story. Like you said, there's all these different stories, and people have amazing ideas, and you could really inspire other people and inspire the world, inspire children, parents to make the world a better place. And I think we really need that right now.
Oh, yes. Definitely needed right now in
Yeah.
the world that we're in. For sure.
Yeah, since we started writing our book, which was over 2.5 years ago now,
Yeah.
we have literally set intentions for everything, and we've literally followed the cosmic breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
And every time we say yes to something, something else shows up to say yes to.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? I mean,
Right.
it's absolutely amazing how
Yeah.
all of these things progress. So, if you're not in the habit of saying yes to things, it might be a good time to start saying yes to things that challenge you, stretch you, but
Yes.
also bring the best out in you.
Yes.
Totally agree.
So,
It's that willingness
yeah.
to be open, like in the chapter in our
Yes,
book.
that's right.
When you have that willingness to be open, that's when things show up, I believe.
absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
and to see it, right? Because if you're not able to see it or you're not willing to see it, you won't see it.
Right.
That's right.
Right? But if you're willing to see it, then you can see things that other people can't see.
That's right.
So, do you have a third book in mind at this point?
I do. I have a third book. I'm if the inspiration comes, I'm going to do it right away. I have been actually wanting to write a book, an adult book. So that's something that has been in the back of my mind for quite some time. So I got to take my own advice and start writing and start doing it. But yeah, I'm not done with these 2 books. There's definitely going to be more coming. Don't know when, but I will have more coming.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, because once you start
Yeah.
and you realize that you're a writer,
Yes.
then it's in your blood and you keep going.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
right? So you just keep doing that. So what, Coralie, what do you have coming up that our audience might like to know about in terms of things that you're working on or things that you'd like to share?
As far as the book project goes, I really do want to continue to get this message out. So thank you for having me, because this is a great avenue to share with more people about the message of the book. So, I will be trying to do book signings and more publicity on the book, to start having the conversation about self-confidence and what it means to love yourself. So this is just the beginning. The book just launched, so I'm hoping soon that I'll have more conversations like this and be able to get the message out to the world.
And you picked a great time of year, as it turned out, to launch it, because the
True.
holidays are very close.
True.
And this would be a great gift.
Great gift.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've enjoyed greatly having you
Yes.
on
Thank you.
and telling us about your book and the things that you're up to. Let us know more information. We can post it on our Facebook page for the show.
Definitely.
And let people know how they can find your book and be able to do a little early holiday shopping.
Definitely. For
Yes.
sure.
Thank you
you
so
so much for
much.
coming on the
Yeah,
show.
so next week,
Oh, yes.
we always do the intro to
Yes.
next week. So next week our guest is actually flying in from Vermont.
Yes. I just finished the book,
She's going
by the
to be
way.
in Miami.
Great book.
She's speaking in Miami the following Sunday, but her name is Lisa Schermerhorn. She's a fellow Y coach.
Yep.
That's how I met her. And she wrote a book called There's a Lie in Every Belief.
Yep. Great book. Really
And
great
actually, if you look at the word belief,
book. Yeah.
there's the 3 letters LIE
Yeah.
in the middle of it.
Yeah,
So
it's a great book.
we invite you to join us next week.
Yeah.
And until then,
Stay tuned. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for joining us.
bye everyone.
Thank you.
Imagine rediscovering a past life.
Now imagine finding the person you shared it with.
And I just told all my friends, I'm like, you guys have to read this because I can't put it down. And I have not even gotten to the half of the book yet.
We are Lynn Everard and Louise Gomez, and we are the authors of the book, The Reuniting of Two Past Lives and the Unveiling of the 12 Sacred Lessons.
We invite you to purchase the book and discover the magic. Even if you have never written a book, you are still an author. In fact, we all are. In every moment, each of us is writing our own unique story that we call our lives. Because many of us are, as in the lyrics of the Dan Hill song, Sometimes When We Touch, writers still trapped within our truth. If this is you, why not start writing your thoughts in a journal? It will help you get your truth on paper and could just be the start of your own book. And don't forget to join us here every week for the next edition of The Editor's Desk.